So the channel has now reached over 10,000 subscribers. First and foremost, I can't thank you guys enough for all the support and love you've been showing me over the last few months. When I first started this channel, I definitely didn't think that it would reach the level that it has. I started the channel originally just because I was bored. My wife was traveling a lot, so I decided to start making some videos because I saw a lot of misinformation going on, generally in the YouTube area relating to firearms. So I thought that I might add some clarity to those individuals who would find my videos, but I definitely didn't think that I would ever reach this level. And lo and behold, it's only been, I think, like 8 months now, and we're over 10,000 subscribers. So if you're watching this video and you're not a subscriber, definitely subscribe. If you've watched a lot of my videos and you still haven't subscribed up to this point, I highly recommend you subscribe. It does help the channel, and I definitely do see that, and it is one of my goals to reach 20,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So what I thought I would do to commemorate reaching 10,000 subscribers is to open the channel up to a general Q&A and allow you guys to ask me questions, and I could directly answer things that you guys might want to know about me, or just really anything. I kind of left it open to whatever you guys wanted to ask me. So the Patreon supporters are going to get first preference because they are members of the Patreon squad, and they actually financially support the channel in some way. So I gave them first preference on the questions, and I'll get to their questions first. So if you're interested in joining the Patreon, that is one of the benefits, is that when I do stuff like this, or when I interact with my followers, the Patreon supporters will always get first preference. So let's go ahead and get into some of the questions that you guys submitted to me. And so the first Patreon question comes from Roman. He states, "Hi, question about the insurance. I see that you recommend USCCA in your video descriptions. Can you please explain your choice? Did you compare it to second call defense? Thanks." There is a thing out there called legal protection or carry insurance, and what it is it provides you legal support and legal funds for the scenario in which you have to defend yourself in a life or death situation. Certain companies like USCCA, like Second Call, NRA had a program also. These companies provide memberships where they give you legal support and legal funds for the scenario in which you might potentially have to defend yourself. And so I plan on making a comprehensive video of why I actually chose USCCA. So my quick answer though would be, I believe USCCA offers the most comprehensive plan out of all the ones I've looked at. Not only are they the biggest name, but they offer you certain protections that some of the other smaller businesses can't. So one of the benefits is with USCCA is that they provide their services not just in the use of a firearm, but in the scenario in which you have to defend yourself, maybe with a knife or any other means where it's a life and death situation. Some of these other plans only apply their protection to the scenario in which you have to deploy a firearm. And also they provide their services to all states. Some of the plans you have to be careful because they do not provide their protection to very specific states and localities. Another major benefit real quick of USCCA that I found is that even at their lowest tier of them providing the $100,000 for criminal defense, that is an upfront payment, and it can apply towards your bail bonds, and it can apply towards your attorney retainer. And so it's not a reimbursement plan. When it comes to the criminal defense, you get that $100,000 up front. If you guys are interested in joining USCCA, I have a link down in the description to do that. So the next question comes from another one of my Patreon supporters, and he wanted to stay anonymous. He asks, "Could you see the recent firearms buying binge in CA making the gun rights movement more popular? Why or why not?" So I definitely think with all the fear of the virus going on and all the panic buying that's going on, I definitely could see that it would have an effect of more people becoming pro Second Amendment and advocating more for the Second Amendment, based on the fact that a lot of people who weren't very engaged in this issue before and just relied heavily on what they heard in the media, and now that they're going out and actively trying to purchase firearms for their first time and seeing all the roadblocks that are out there, I definitely think it's going to open up their eyes to realize that this is not as loosey-goosey as people are claiming that it is. So now let's look at some of the YouTube comments. CCAB asks, "I'd like to know what are the most CCW friendly counties in California and how many permits were issued in the last year by county." So I don't actually have the numbers in front of me. Generally what we see as far as CCW friendly counties are those counties that tend to be more conservative. So what you'll actually see is some Bay Area counties and some coastal counties, some LA counties. Those tend to not be as CCW friendly versus some areas within the Central Valley or some other outlying counties tend to be more CCW friendly. So if you go to my CCW video on my channel, what you'll actually see is there is a map that scrolls through in that video that shows the various counties color-coded based on how friendly they are to a CCW versus how friendly they are not to a CCW. So Jeffrey K asks, "So recently I saw on the news about an armed security guard charged for having hollow point ammo, which is for self-defense obviously. Does CA have some weird law about what ammo CCW law holders are allowed to carry? Thanks, love your channel." So that specific scenario was actually New Jersey. New Jersey has a law in the books in regards to hollow points. California does not have a general prohibition on hollow points. What's actually interesting about that case, and a little bit of nuance in that, is the ammunition that he was actually carrying was Hornady critical defense. So a lot of you are actually familiar with Hornady critical defense, and what it actually has is a rubber top to it, so it's not actually hollow. So reports are going around in New Jersey, and actually his employer said that that is the type of ammunition he was permitted to carry. So it wasn't actually falling under the definition of hollow point. Now we'll have to see exactly how that plays out, but it's just interesting because he was directly told that he could carry that, and it seems like that Hornady critical defense doesn't actually fall under the language of the New Jersey law. Raul Dorado asks, on average, how long and difficult is the process to obtain a CCW in Riverside? I'm not familiar with Riverside. I didn't get my CCW through Riverside. What I can tell you is in the county in which I got my CCW, even up into applying, you had to do various training requirements and stuff like that. So it took me about a month to do my training, get all my paperwork together. And then after I actually submitted my application, it took more than 90 days for me to get back my CCW permit. So in your county, it may be faster, it may be slower, it just depends. So Willie's Papa asks, congrats on the milestone, and then he has a question, does a featureless rifle require a bullet button, or can it have a regular mag release? So the language when it comes to featureless rifles, no, you do not have to have a bullet button. You need to have a actual mag release. Bullet buttons are directly targeted in the new language of the Assault Weapons Control Act. That is the benefit of having a featureless rifle, is because you get the mag release button. Now you can't have the pistol grip, you can't have a forward grip, you can't have a telescoping stock, you can't have a telescoping stock, and you can't have a flash hider. But still you have the benefit of having a mag release versus having to go to a fixed mag. So Hernandez Ardez asks, congratulations on the milestone. By the way, your good quality content is paying off. Thank you, I appreciate that. You guys are all have been awesome. Doesn't seem like he asked a question. So let's move on to the next one. So JaredDog3 kind of asks a long question, but in summary, he states that a lot of the 2A videos talk about call your representative at the end of the video, and he wants to know actually how you do that. I'll go ahead and put a link down in the description where it has a call your representative list. Usually the best way to do that is to find your local House representative or to find your Senate representative. It also depends on the specific issue. If you're dealing with something very locally, you might want to contact your city council member. So Anthony asks, do you personally think California may turn red in the very near future? In my personal opinion, no. I think it's very unlikely that California will ever turn red, especially in the near future. What we've actually seen is a few cities actually held California captive, being the LA area and the San Francisco Bay Area. And some of the coastal areas have pretty much held California captive. So no, in my personal opinion, I don't think it's likely that we'll see California turn red anytime soon. So Jeep Guy asks, and actually Jeep Guy is another one of the Patreon supporters. He asks, if I pass away, does my wife get my firearm? What is the process for something like this? As far as intestate transfer versus will transfers versus trust transfers, that can be a whole video in itself. There's a lot of depth to that question. What I'll say generally is, what I'm gonna assume is that if an individual dies intestate, it doesn't seem like you have a will or trust. So intestate means you die without a will or trust. What happens is you fall under the default rules of your state. So in the state of California, what happens is you are allowed to transfer those firearms, or through the probate process, you are allowed to transfer those firearms to a family member. And as long as that family member is permitted to actually possess those, you don't have to go through an FFL transfer. It's similar to an intrafamiliar transfer. So that might be actually a video in itself that I might consider doing if you guys show a lot of interest in. So Mackie Haru asks, what kind of outlook do you have on the state of Second Amendment laws? Being here in California, I keep seeing law after law being written, sometimes passed. Just feels like this might be a losing battle sometimes. Do you see any realistic optimism? As far as what's going on in California, I think there is a lot of optimism. What we've seen recently in the last couple of years is some very big landmark cases in the favor of the Second Amendment in California. And a lot of that has to do with Judge Benitez. And we have a lot of cases also in front of him right now. So there is a lot of room to be optimistic about the state of Second Amendment laws in California. Arib Hassan asks, what's your process for making a video? So generally my process for making a video really depends on the type of video I'm making. If it's a more nuanced video and has a lot of legal depth in it, what I'll do is I'll start a few days early doing some research, setting up an outline. And then as far as actually filming, what I'll do is I'll just set a time, usually about an hour and a half. I'll start making the video, then I'll import it into my laptop and I'll chop it up, edit it, all that stuff, make the thumbnail. And usually from start to finish, it takes me about 4 hours from filming to editing to making the thumbnail and putting it on YouTube. So 95EGS SoCal, you guys gotta pick some better names. He asks, congrats, can you buy and not install parts to be ready in case Freedom Week 2.0 is approved? So if a lot of you aren't familiar, Freedom Week 2.0 is the Miller v. Becerra case, which was supposed to be in front of Judge Benitez this month, but got pushed back because of all the virus concern, and now we don't know exactly when we're going to get that hearing. So a lot of us are anticipating that we might get a favorable decision and get to move away from featureless or mag-locked AR platforms. You are legally allowed to purchase those. You're not prohibited from purchasing those items, so there should be no issue as far as you purchasing those. And it doesn't necessarily matter that you are doing it in anticipation, because it's not like you're actually installing them right now and violating the Assault Weapons Control Act, so there should be no issue there. And so that's all I'm saying. We don't know exactly what the form of the ruling is going to be by Judge Benitez, so it might be frivolous for you to go out and purchase those. You just have to make the decision on your own, but me, in anticipation, I went and bought those items. So JP asks, what is the likelihood, any chance in hell, that the handgun roster will ever be abolished? Thanks. So in my opinion, I mean, we've had a lot of cases about the handgun roster kind of get floated around. I personally think that is going to be one of the last things to go in California. I think we have a lot more likelihood of attacking things like the magazine bans, and I think we even have a potential of getting rid of the assault weapons language before we get rid of the handgun roster issue. For some reason, in my opinion, it seems like those individuals in California who do not like the Second Amendment, for some reason, hold on to the handgun roster more than anything else. So in my opinion, I think there is potential. We've seen a lot of movement recently in California. I think we saw one domino fall as far as magazines. My hope is that we see another domino fall as far as the Assault Weapons Control Act. And then after that, I think we can take a strong shot at the handgun roster. So Arif Hassan asks another question asking how long does it take to make a video, and I kind of answered that already. Usually it takes about 4 hours from filming to editing and posting. It takes about 4 hours, but it just depends on the complexity of the video I'm making. There's a broken question in talking about a 10-day waiting period as far as gun shops being closed right now. Well, we're seeing a lot, especially in the LA County area, especially when they were closing them. What they said is as long as you had purchased a firearm before the gun stores were closed, you are allowed to go and pick it up regardless if they were closed. So you shouldn't really have a whole lot of hesitation. But with that being said, right now it may not be the best time because you're having long wait times, and also the stock of these stores is being greatly depleted because a lot of people are going out and buying firearms. So you might not necessarily get the firearm you want, or you might have to wait a long time to get it, especially if you're a first-time buyer. I understand that you want to get your hands on a firearm, but also do your research and make sure you're not buying something crazy out of your budget, and make sure you're getting the right deal for you. But my recommendation always is if you feel like you need to get a firearm, go ahead and try to get a firearm. Bobby Bick asks a question as far as his medical marijuana card expiring and whether that could have effect on him trying to clear the background check or get a CCW. I don't have a whole lot of experience in this, but what I do know from my personal experience when I applied for my CCW, my county expressly asked whether I had done marijuana recently or whether I had some sort of medical marijuana card or something like that. So I think it could potentially prohibit you. I believe there is also some language on the actual background check for getting your CCW where it asks about controlled substances. So there is the potential that it could affect your ability to get your CCW. Fireheart Samurai asks, if and when the CA handgun roster gets overturned, what 5 handguns would you buy? Oh, this is a good question. I'm a big Glock fan, so I think a lot of those Glock gens that we haven't really been able to freely get our hands on, the Gen 5s, probably 43-43X. I would also like to get my hands on one of the Zebs, the OZ9, something like that. Really, there's a lot, and just off the top of my head, those are just what kind of comes to me. Edmund Mendez asks, congrats on the 10K subs. Thank you, I appreciate it. Do you think it's possible to purchase my first handgun when the shelter in place is canceled? What happens if they extend the shelter in place? It is possible even right now with the shelter in place for you to be able to get your hands on a firearm. It just depends on your area if your gun stores are open. I would say that for your first handgun, I would try, if you really think that you need a firearm right now or you need a handgun right now, I would try to get it if your gun stores are open. You're gonna have to wait 10 days anyways, so who knows when the shelter in place is lifted. If you try to get your firearm, they might reinstitute it again, so you never know. I think if you feel that strongly where you think that you need a handgun, if your gun store is open right now, go ahead and try to get it. That is if you can get the firearm you want or the handgun you want. And if you want a general recommendation, I can give you some general recommendations on the type of handgun that you should get as an entry level or first handgun. But I definitely don't think that you necessarily have to wait for the shelter in place to be lifted. Alessandro Calme asks, when did you get your first gun and what was it? So this is another good question. So as far as the first gun I ever got, it was very typical. A lot of you probably got one also, is I got a little Ruger 1020. I think it was a Ruger 1022 when I was a kid. My grandpa gave it to me, and that's kind of what I came up on. As far as the firearm I first purchased for myself, it was a Glock 19, and it is still the Glock 19 I carry now. That was the first handgun. That was the first handgun I ever purchased, or the first gun I ever purchased for myself, and I still use it to this day. I've made some modifications to it. I've changed the trigger, changed the slide, stuff like that. But that is still generally the first firearm I ever purchased for myself, and I still have it to this day. And of course, once you buy one, it kind of leads you down this crazy rabbit hole where now you've got way too many. So Crash Override 93637 asks, how long do you think the situation will delay Freedom Week 2.0? And so what I'm assuming he's asking is about the virus and how long it will delay the Miller v. Becerra case. And I actually just got another questions about this as far as how long do I think that, you know, insert name here versus Becerra will be pushed out, or when will we get hearing dates? Right now we're kind of in a limbo. From what I'm hearing professionally, as far as my own cases or things that I'm dealing professionally myself that I'm involved with, what we are hearing is at least 90 days. Some courts are pushing out, so my assumption might be for some of these, it could be at the very least, it could be 90 days. Some of these cases get pushed out. It's extremely fortunate. I know a lot of us are looking forward to that, but that's just kind of the scenario we're in right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, or my 3% of ladies and my 97% of gentlemen who watch these videos, this was just a quick one, Q&A. I'll try to do more of these in the future if you guys are interested. Again, I just have to greatly thank you guys for all the support you've shown me. I definitely never thought I would reach 10,000 subscribers. I look forward to putting out more video for you guys. If you guys have any more questions or videos you'd like to see in the future, go ahead and write down in the comment section those. If you would like to support the channel and you would like to get preference like some of the Patreon supporters did, the best way to do that or to get the preference is to join the Patreon, and I'll put links down in the description to the Patreon page. Also, if you would like to support the channel, another way you can do that is to use the various links down in the description. Those are affiliate links. So as always, thanks you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and never forget, a nation that draws a great distinction between its scholars and its warriors will have its laws written by cowards and its wars fought by fools.